It's so important that with young children, we're just over-explaining over and over and over again. I can't stress this enough that it's not personal because we feel disrespected again. Like I told him so many times, I didn't want to do this and I shouldn't have done that. And you just go down that shame spiral.
In this episode of the Mindful Podcast, we will discuss what it means to be a conscious parent, managing our triggers when parenting, and removing the pressure of society when it comes to being the perfect parent. With Joline Escat, a conscious parent coach. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mindful Podcast. Today we have wonderful Joline Escat, and that is German.
It's actually French.
Really? Oh my God. We didn't talk about that, but we'll leave that for another podcast. So I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself for those who might not know you. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself personally and professionally?
Yes. Well, I'm Joline Escat. I am the Mindful Mess Mom on Instagram, and I'm a conscious parent coach. I studied early childhood pedagogy, which focused on the developmental part of children, and wrote my thesis about how a secure attachment and a loving bond to a parent can build resilience in children.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. How did you find yourself going into this Instagram social platform combined with mental health?
Honestly, I started out because I was looking for community. I was a new mom moving from Germany to San Diego. And during the pandemic, I was with my partner the entire time and we were parenting together. I was suffering of postpartum anxiety. Okay. So as soon as we arrived here, my husband went straight to work and I was a full-time stay-at-home mom with my child. And I felt so lonely and I had so many intrusive thoughts and I got triggered a lot and I saw that my child was not doing anything wrong. And after I became more mindful of what is actually going on, I was able to communicate better with myself and with my child. And I was looking for other parents. If anyone else was struggling with this, is anyone else having those emotions of like, oh my God, you need to just shut up. Yeah. And after saying that, feeling so guilty for it, like, oh my God, why would I ever think that way? And I felt something was wrong with me. And I tapped back into what I studied and became aware of the conscious parenting community. And that's where I was like, this is where I want to go. This is where I want to be. And started Mindful Mess Mom and created an amazing community there.
Yeah. And you have a lot of followers. You have a great community. You get a lot of good feedback from everybody. Do they help you the same way you help them, you think?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I don't always get positive feedback.
Of course.
I always have someone saying like, they just need a good whooping and they're going to be just great and fun. Just like, I don't know why I'm doing the accent too right now. I'm not saying this accent implies that this whipping is happening. Yeah. But there's always someone who says, I was raised that way and I turned out fine.
Oh, I hear that all the time.
Yeah. And so it's a lot of those parents who actually come later to me and be like, I truly believed I need to be like very strong towards my child and make them respect me and really make them be who I think they should be, to turning it around and be like, they're their own human being and I'm just here to guide them and not push them. And this is always the biggest aha moment and reward for the work that I'm doing, when parents are like, I couldn't see beyond what was going on at the moment. I was just so stuck in my reality that I couldn't see further.
Yeah. And so you're a parent coach.
Yes.
What does that entail? How do you work with the parent?
I usually have clients or workshops that is focused on the parent, and the action of parenting is, a lot of people know it as like gentle parenting. But when I focus on the parent, it's about the conscious parent part, where they become aware of themselves, their own past, why they react and respond the way that they do. We all do. And so they're able later on to respond in the way that they actually want to and not out of reaction.
And what does a conscious parent entail? What does it mean to be conscious?
It starts with just becoming aware of, hey, I might have overreacted. That is, I think, the first thing where you're like, when you're triggered, I might have overreacted right now. Or you get hit in the face at the end of the day with mom guilt, where you're like, I didn't want to do this and I shouldn't have done that. And you just go down that shame spiral where you're like, I want to change that. I want to do it differently. I don't want to do it maybe as my parents or grandparents did it or how society thinks I should do it. I want to do it my way, but how do I start? So that is the first step, because you're open for a change. And then you become a conscious parent by a lot of reflection. Maybe after an encounter, or you decide to be like, I'm going to be really present right now, and I'm going to take it all in, and I'm going to take in how I feel, how my child feels, and how I can connect with my child on a deeper level than just like, I have to play with you because playing is great for you. Yeah.
What kind of triggers are the most common that you see amongst the parents?
Yeah, I think the biggest one that I get encountered with is the disobedience. And a lot of parents don't like when I say disobedience, because they're like, they're not disobeying me, they're just not listening. And I'm like, I know.
Same thing.
Yeah. It's as soon as we say it in that way, it like turns on a switch of like, oh, that's actually what I want them to do. I want them to do exactly as I say.
Yeah.
And that is a big trigger. And it most of the time leads back to our own childhood, that when we were disrespectful or said no, shared our opinion, we might have gotten in trouble for it. Don't talk back. I'm your parent. You better respect me. And that all leads us to being triggered by our children now. When they have their own opinion, when they say no to us, we want to take over that control right now because we are superior to them. We own our kids. You are mine. And when we are able to change that into like, hey, you're here for your own self. Like I made the decision to have you, but you actually didn't ask to be here. So I'm going to guide you in the best way I can. And figuring out our own triggers is helping our kids to be emotional intelligent, because they are able and allowed to feel what they're feeling without being rejected.
How can you, for example, you said the kid says no. How would you recommend a parent to react or to say or what to do?
Yeah, when you realize it's a trigger for you, I always say, okay, before you respond or react towards your child, stop for a second. If you're not at a 10, if you're really at like a 2 or a 3 and not about to lose it, take a couple deep breaths. Be like, okay, it's not personal. They just really don't want to do what I just asked them to do. Is it necessary that he has to do it right now? Or do I just really want him so I can control the situation and get what I want?
Exactly.
And as soon as you're able to do that, you can expand the connection with your child and be like, you know what? You do not have to clean this up right now. We can do it after dinner too. And that's where a lot of people think this is passive parenting. We're just like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want and you're fine just as long as you're happy. But it is really to find the balance of what is necessary and what is just really the control I want to give you.
Yeah.
And with teens especially, you can set like, they also need boundaries. Like everyone needs boundaries, but just like be safe in between. With a teenager, you can be like, all right, today you got to take a shower, but dinner is at 6. I will, if you haven't showered until 5:30, I'm going to come and remind you. But so they have the power to decide themselves. For
Mine won't do it.
Longest time.
I'll be like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And then that's their thing where they're like, yeah, cool. And they literally forget. They do because they're so emotionally drawn to everything else at the moment. That's why you can like gently and kind be like, I'll remind you, it's no big deal. I totally saw that you're really like gaming or whatever, but now it's 5:30 and I'm preparing dinner. Can you hop in the shower?
I'll try it today.
Yeah, try it. Do you? Yeah.
I'll be like, I don't want to shower. I'll shower tomorrow. And then in the morning is a mission to even get him up. So then if I say, okay, you can shower in the morning, maybe I should just let him be dirty for a week. That is a lesson. I'm like, I don't care.
That is the natural consequence. What a lot of people are like very drawn to, where you're like, you know what? You will learn eventually that no one wants to hang out with you when you smell like skunk. So you don't want to shower. That's you. But I also don't want to sit at the dinner table with you. So
yeah, you're going to have to go eat alone in your corner.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is your room now. It's a box.
How can a parent, once they're triggered, how can they self-regulate?
Yeah, this is a big thing where it's different for everyone.
Okay.
For some, it really is just like, because they're always at a 2 or 3. Like I always compare it to your own cup. 10 is full and about to overflow. And then it starts during the day. This is becoming conscious of yourself from the morning on. Like, how do I feel? Am I anxious from last night? Am I anxious about what's going to happen? And then how much can I take? So regulating yourself when you are regulated is just releasing some of that stress that you have in your cup filled up. So when you know you wake up and you're already at a 6 because you have so much to do, that's when you need to slow down. And that's when we don't want to slow down. This is when our ego tells us like, okay, we got to get going so we can do all the things we got to do.
Yeah.
And when we become aware of being already so triggered, so close to being triggered so easily, we can slow down, release some of that stress, maybe cut some stuff out that we don't have to do that day. And this is the big like scheme that we want to get to, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes we start out at a 2 and we're like, okay, everything's cool. And then all of a sudden you're at a 12. And the regulating part is some can just breathe through it and be like, okay, I'm okay. We're going to figure it out. And sometimes you have to leave the room where the child is still crying or throwing a fit or telling you how much they hate you. You are allowed to leave that situation. A lot of parents that talk about respectful or gentle parenting is like, you always have to be there and responsive towards your child in their hard time. But it doesn't show them that you also have a hard time. Like, you're not supposed to suppress your feelings.
Yeah.
Your kid is not supposed to learn that you're never sad, you're never angry, you're never frustrated, because that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Your child is allowed to see you mad, frustrated, and you're allowed to say this when you understand it's not them making you, it's their behavior. So not blaming and shaming them like, you did this, I'm so frustrated because you did this. And like turning it around, like, I'm frustrated right now, I'm gonna go into my room and then punch a pillow. That helps. Because
I'm gonna go for a run.
I'm gonna scream into a pillow. A lot of my clients love to scream into a pillow.
Really?
To just get that anger out. Instead of screaming at your child, you can scream into a pillow.
Yeah.
And come back more regulated and find a solution together instead of just suppressing it. No, everything's fine. We're great. And then 2 minutes later, they do something else and you're really going to explode.
Exactly. Is it important to come back if you do explode or share those emotions of frustration? Is it important to come back to them and explain what you just went through, or how should they deal with that?
Yes. So if you, do you mean like if you do lose it, if you scream, yell,
if you
spank, punish?
If you end up losing it, like most of us do.
Yeah.
What do you suggest to do after that?
It's the repair part.
Exactly.
So we will lose it eventually in some sort or the other. And not just making our child feel guilty for how we reacted to their behavior is key for them to not turn down this shame spiral of like, everything's my fault.
Yeah.
I need to make it up so I feel loved again and I receive this love. When we take responsibility, and I'm not talking in a shameful way of like, I shouldn't have done this, like this mom guilt feeling that we have, but like, damn, I really lost it today and I'm sorry for it. going back instead of just avoiding it and explaining how you felt. I'm sorry, I was really frustrated and I yelled at you.
Yeah.
That scared you, huh? Yeah, I totally get it. It would have scared me too. The next time, and this is one of the key points, is telling yourself, your nervous system, and your brain what you're going to do next time when you feel that way. Next time when I'm so frustrated, I'm either going to leave the room and I'm going to regulate myself, or I'm going to take a pause. Literally telling yourself what you're going to do next time, and your child will remind you. They'll be like, hey, do you remember last time? Remember?
Do you need a minute, Mom?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
yes, I'll be right back.
Yeah. That's how they learn too. There are toddlers out there, young children who are like, I think I'm really frustrated right now. I'm going to go outside. One of my best friend's daughter, she is 2.5. And she's just like, I need to go outside and scream. And I'm like, you go.
That's so
You
funny.
go. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's wonderful. Now, do these techniques apply to all ages, or can it be applied to toddlers the same as 18, for example?
Yeah, because you're actually just applying it to yourself.
Okay.
You're actually reparenting yourself, which is a big part of what I'm coaching. Reparenting yourself in the way that you needed to be parented when you were younger. Those triggers tell the story of us getting a reaction from our parents or caregivers when we were younger that we didn't need to receive. We needed something else. We needed more comfort, more connection. And when we understand that, we can give that to ourselves, because we all need to be parented, which is guidance, through our entire life. So we step into those shoes. We are reparenting ourselves now. We are taking advantage of our triggers. They're opening the door of, how can I heal that part of me that really needed some love when I didn't receive it?
Yeah.
So we can always apply it to our 30-year-old children. We can start over any time. As soon as we start, there will be changes.
Exactly. It's like a domino effect.
It is.
If you change yourself, then it'll go towards the people you love.
Yep.
Amazing.
It's really great. A lot of us are still longing from that love from our parents and acceptance and the feeling that they're proud. How many of us would be like, oh my God, I just received exactly what I needed from my 80-year-old mom that I've never gotten? We would still feel so much joy.
Yeah, it still brings joy. Doesn't matter the age. We're always fiending for that parent love. And, unfortunately, not everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Do you work as well with what is the attachment, like positive attachment with parents and kids?
I don't necessarily focus on it, but since I studied it, I studied John Bowlby, which was one of my biggest resources for my thesis. And there was the secure attachment, which we're trying to create with our children, where they feel safe, where they know that whatever they're going through, they're safe. We're coming back for them and to them, and we meet them on their level, on their needs.
Is that maybe one of your ultimate goals if you're working with, let's say, a parent and a small child, for them to create that positive attachment?
Yes, I think this is what one of the outcomes is. But since I focus on the parent, I want them to be so confident in themselves that this will be an automatic result of authenticity, because the parenting part can't be perfect. There is no perfect parenting. The perfect parenting is being authentic and show up and try over and over again. I do want to say, and I think that's very important, it's not a free card for effing up every single day.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I apologize to you, so I'm good.
Yeah. Then it's just a pattern, and then it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. An apology without change is manipulation.
Yeah.
So if we're just going to be like, well, I just, spanked the hell out of you, and I'm
sorry. I'll do it again tomorrow.
This is not where this work is on. It's really to wanting to make that change and see small progress, which will give your child the secure attachment of seeing you at your fault, which is just being human,
Yeah.
and being able to, they'll show up though. They take the responsibility. They know that they're not perfect, and I don't need to be perfect either. So I can trust them.
Yeah. It's an interesting way to see it. In regards to, I'm talking about different ages when you work with the parent, right? You focus on the parent. But when it comes to children, how important is it to know the difference in regards of developmental stages?
It's very important, especially at the beginning. We're thrown into parenthood, and we are figuring out how to be parent, finding the balance between parenthood and our own childhood trauma, and then maybe being a partner as well. And so it's hard to even understand. No one some people study it, but
still,
it's not like you go to school to understand that your child maybe really are not able to understand what you want from them right now. Our small kids' brain is that wired that the right side is on full-on mode, which is the emotional side. So everything that happens with our young children is emotional attached. The logic comes way later in life.
Yeah.
So for us to be like, I told you, can't you remember? And they're like, but I felt this way right now.
Yeah.
And they can't, when they're that young, they can't hold two feelings at the same time. That's why they're so impulsive. They're like, I want this right now, so I'm gonna do it.
I need it. I want it. I feel it.
And it's not like, well, but maybe if I do this, that might happen. That's why it's so important that with young children, we're just over explaining over and over and over again. I can't stress this enough that it's not personal, because we feel disrespected again. Like, I told him so many times. Yeah. You said you had a 13-year-old.
Oh, yeah. I repeat myself every day. Same thing. Brush your teeth, this, or even, pass me that, and he'll get distracted. And I'm like, hello. And he's like, oh, sorry, I forgot. And you're like, come on. Like, how can you forget that? It's so easy.
Yeah. And this is teenagers, their brain, the emotional brain side works overdrive.
Yeah.
Hormones, all that stuff. So the logical things are just not as important as the feeling things. And feelings are connected now a lot to our phones and the connection that we have there.
Or the iPad.
In
his case, or Minecraft, Roblox.
And
that's important for him.
Yep. And these are all the things that are important, and it feels way more important than actually just brushing my teeth. So making it a routine and boundaries. Every child, every person needs boundaries to eventually have the feeling of security. I mean, we can't say, okay, I set a boundary, now you feel safe. No, you're probably still mad that I set the boundary.
Yeah.
It's our job to deal with those emotions, be there for our kid not liking the boundary, but sticking with it. And that is the difference with the passive parenting. It's like, we're setting the boundaries. You're not going to like it, but I'm here for you. And I'm not going to make you feel bad that you feel that way, or, well, I told you so, and whatever. You can do, you got to do it anyways. But be like, I get it. You don't want to do that right now, but you have to.
Yeah.
And
that's what I say every morning. When he's like, I don't want to go to school, I'm like, I get it. I don't want to go to work, but here we are. So we have to get ready. Responsibilities.
I know. Yeah. The older that you get, the more responsibilities you get. But when a child says, I don't want to go to school, sometimes like, why? Like, why do you want to go to school? Are you bullied?
Yeah.
Are you like not feeling comfortable, confident in what's going on? Do you need some help finding the underlying issue of like, why don't you want to go to school? Sometimes it's just like, because I don't want to get up in the morning.
Laziness. Others could be bullying, or they just don't feel comfortable. I've had students not want to come because they're not good at math. So they were like trying not to come on the days they had math.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen it all, heard it all.
Yeah. And then when we're the parent and being like, well, why don't you? Just like digging a little deeper, that is when the real connection happens. But it is hard to not just be on the surface the entire time, because our life is so much faster now, and we feel like we have to go there, we have to be there, we have to be that. So when we want to do that connection, to like take the pause and be like, okay, why don't you want to go to school, and just listen.
And I think what you just said brings me to my next question, because we're always trying to be great parents, perfect parents. Even attendance, it falls on us. You know, if my son doesn't go to school, then I get a phone call, or like I look bad because I'm a parent, I'm supposed to make them go to school.
Yeah.
So how can we manage that in a better way, where society tells you have to be this perfect parent and you're not? Because the reality is that none of us are perfect parents.
Yeah. This society tells us to be all those things, and then all the other things, which just messes with our mind so much. And actually becoming the parent or the person you want to be is super hard, because the outside noise is so loud. And yeah, we are responsible for our children until they're 18. And I would say further.
Oh, even further.
You know, it
depends on the child, I guess.
Yeah. And it's just like, of course, we're responsible for our own doing and our own being. And yes, our child needs to go to school, but we're so afraid that we look bad when they don't go. And then we want to blame them, like, what is everyone going to think now? You didn't go to school, and now I look bad because you didn't go to school. Instead of being like, why didn't you go to school? Like, what happened? You didn't feel like it? Or did something happen? I know some of my friends, they take their kids out for a day or two because they could not go to school because they were overwhelmed. They had a fight with a friend. They were overstimulated. They needed a break. When we do that or have that in a workspace, we can take an off day.
Yeah,
if we really,
personal day.
Yeah, if we really are overworked or just over anything and we're like, I need a break, we can take a PTO. Kids can't. We tell them every single day, if you want to be something, you better go to work.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but I am already something. And why does that matter? Like what job I have? And like, am I not enough if I just am who I am? And connecting with our kids to understand why they avoided it, what was going on, can actually help bring that security of like, I can actually tell my mom or my dad, of my parent, I feel very touched out. I am overworked because school is getting harder and harder. I really need a day. Instead of like, I'm so afraid to tell my parents, I'm just going to ditch it and I hope they're not going to find out, which of course they will.
Yeah.
So building the relationship where they feel secure enough to be honest with us.
Exactly. And I think that's hard for kids too, because, well, for parents, because we want to be that cool friend, like you can tell me anything, but deep down you're like, well, that's going to get me upset and you're going to get grounded.
I know.
But I still want you to share everything. They're not going to share everything, but you want them to at least share their emotions or things like that, like having a bad day. They might not tell you when they get a boyfriend or girlfriend, but you know, that's to the side. That's not that important. Sharing your emotions, your struggles. If there's any reason they really don't want to go to school and not do something, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
So that would be like the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah. And it would be taking the fear away. Like you said before, if you're going to tell me that, I'm going to get you grounded.
Yeah.
If you,
But let's be real. You're going to get grounded if you're telling me you're drinking alcohol in your friend's house. But I will go pick you up and keep you safe.
It's those things where it's like, hey, mom, we're going to go to my friend's house.
Yeah.
There will be alcohol. And now how big is that trust of you to your child? Well, how do you feel? Do you want to drink something too? Or do you just want to go to that party?
Yeah.
And if your child's like, I just really want to go to that party, even though there's drinking. Do you trust your child enough to be like, all right, I will drive you there and I will pick you up at that time, like setting a boundary, but giving them the freedom of being like, trust you.
Yeah.
It depends, of course,
And
how old the child is. If
Of
your
course.
child is, 12 or 13.
Do not drop him off at a party with alcohol.
Yeah. But I mean,
No, but I get what you're saying.
yeah. And it's the trust of like your child's coming up to you and telling you that there's alcohol at a party, well knowingly that he might get or she might get grounded for telling it and might not be allowed to go to that party. Now, as a parent, you can be like, okay, we all know when we were 18. Well, in Germany, you're allowed to drink when you're 16. So it's a little different.
In Venezuela, it's 18 too. So I grew up there and I get it.
But in America, to be honest, there's a lot of alcohol and worse stuff, unfortunately, at 18-year-old parties.
Yeah.
But if your 18-year-old comes to you and tells you that, where can you communicate so you both feel confident and safe?
Exactly.
And this is where it starts at the youngest age. Does your child come to you and tell you, hey, I did this and that, and like, how can we find a solution? Or is your child going to be like, if I tell my parent this now, I'm going to get in trouble, so I'm not going to say it. I'm going to keep hiding. So the punishment will always bring fear, and it will bring like secrets and being afraid. So when we can take the fear away, we can actually build an equally relationship.
Yeah. And always like you mentioned, you can always set boundaries too, right? Like he comes, tells you that, okay, you can go to this party, but if you get in trouble or the cop calls me, that is it. You're going to be grounded, or whatever rules you have for your old family.
Yes.
Right.
And the authenticity also comes with when you're a parent and you're like, I don't feel comfortable with you going there because I'm scared. Say that and not be like, you're not going there. There's alcohol. It's like, okay, great. Well, don't you trust me? That is their internal thoughts.
Okay.
So when we can explain how we feel, and be like, I don't want you to go there because I'm afraid you might get hurt, that the cops come, that you get in trouble, that someone's going to start a fight. I don't feel comfortable and I can't let you go there. This will take the shame and the you don't trust me from our kids to like, you're boring. But rather be boring authentically, scared authentically, and set that boundary. You're always allowed to set boundaries if there's a reason behind it. If you just want to set a boundary because you said so, that's not a reason.
Yeah. I think it's important to notice how in that situation, you're putting the attention to you, where like, I'm giving you my reasoning and you're giving an explanation.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you mentioned, like, what's what I say?
Yeah.
Because I'm the parent.
Yeah.
I can't say I've never used that line though.
There are so many things you shouldn't do.
Why? Because I said,
yep. And that's it. That's
I make the laws.
Yeah. My house, my rules.
Exactly. It's like, wait, who pays for rent?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
This is what we all heard, and we're going to, get to generations where we're not using this, but we're in the middle of it. We're figuring all this out.
Right? That's how I feel, at least. I feel like, and I study psychology, and sometimes I feel like I'm very awakened and I'm like, okay, this is great. And then others, I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah. On other days, you're PMSing, or you're as a person who has periods, you have PMS, you have your period, and you're just like, you just took a breath.
Oh, he knows. I'm like, I'm on my period. He's like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, don't talk to me. I was like, don't breathe next to me.
Yeah, and these are the things.
Train them young.
Consciously aware of it, where my partner had to learn the hard way. He's like, I just have a quick question. Are you starting your period anytime soon? No. Why? Yeah. And then the next day, I just started my period. Yeah. I didn't want to divorce you, actually. Yeah. We're good.
I was feeling a little crazy, but it was just the hormones. I'm sorry. I apologize.
These are things we need to talk about. It's when I bring those up where I'm like, oh man, I'm PMSing. I want to divorce my husband and just go to Germany. Yeah. And people are all like, oh, dang, I feel the same way, but I never knew someone else felt that way. I always thought I was crazy. I'm like,
wait, you say it, but I've never said it.
Yeah.
No, they're used to it by now. But it's so important to have that open communication line with your kids, and be able to, at a certain age, you're more able to explain certain things too, right? Because your cognitive level has risen.
Yes.
You can't talk to a 2 or 3-year-old like you can talk to a 15-year-old.
I actually always think we can always talk to kids like grown-ups. I started it from a super young age to train myself.
Okay.
So be not using the I did with you voice.
Oh, no, of course.
And like how to communicate instead of like making it kind of babyish, to actually talk to them like full human beings is more respectful in a way than like
babying them.
yes. So we can talk to young kids full on and use the full sentences, maybe shorter, quicker to the point, but we can still do that. And it's going to happen more often, though, that you have to say those things. Repetition is like number one thing, but they will grow up being talked to like you and I talk right now.
Exactly.
So they're not going to feel like undermined because they're smaller. They're going to be like, I'm on the same level as you guys.
Yeah. No, and I completely agree. I think what I meant was more on the side of our expectations and going back to the child development. Like I can tell you the same things, but you might not grasp the whole idea.
Or
but no, for
any of it.
sure, I agree. Don't. I wasn't the baby kind either. No. My friends would laugh. I was like, "What are you doing that? Pick it." And they're just like, "He's just a baby." I'm like, "So?" I'm like, I'm talking to him like I would talk to you.
Yes, exactly. And you're totally right. Kids young age, they don't understand. A lot of times they need that repetition.
Talking to a wall. They
don't even know what you're saying right now or what you're talking about. And because they're like, they come into this world blank. They not unconsciously, but they don't know that this is a light, this is a microphone, that the stove is hot, that a dog can bite. That's why we have to continuously repeat ourselves, show them, model them what we can do, what we can't do, because otherwise they would just explore the entire world and the freeways, and it would not be great.
Yeah. If you don't have kids and you want to have that feeling, you can also get a puppy. Same thing.
I don't have a puppy.
Oh my God.
But I sometimes feel like I should have a puppy because then I can, use that. I want to control something. I can control the dog.
You can train them.
Yeah.
But it's still hard. They don't always listen. As a parent, how can we become more aware of ourselves to be a better parent overall? You mentioned being mindful, staying in the present moment. Are there any techniques that maybe a parent can use at home? Simple techniques.
Yes. The thing that I started with was journaling. And I was like, oh God, journaling.
It's like having a diary.
Oh. Or what else was it? Breath work. Oh God, meditating. Nah, that's not for me. It is definitely not for me. I am too cool for this. It's very cringe. And I'm still having a hard time meditating, but it just calms down a little bit. So taking a pause, and I do it every time washing my hands. This is how I started. Okay. I want to learn how to be more present. And as a mom of a toddler, you wash your hands a lot. I hope. And
also COVID.
Also COVID. Very mindful now. No, but washing my hands was the first one where I was like, okay, I'm going to wash my hands. I'm using the soap. And like literally watching myself wash my hands, felt the water. Was it warm? Was it cold? Was it comfortable? And these 30 seconds is a mindful work. It's like being in the present moment, stopping our to-do list of thoughts for just a couple of seconds, being present. And then we can do more tasks like this, brushing our teeth instead of like, oh, I'm going to brush your hair while I'm brushing my teeth and I'm going to put my shoes on. Just like, I'm just going to brush my hair right now.
Okay.
Driving a car, don't be on your phone. Driving your car. How many times? I was just talking with my friend Erin. It's the conscious mom. She's also amazing. Yes. We were talking about how many times do we get to places and don't know how we get there. We got in the car and we got out of it.
Yes.
Because our to-do list is just running through our minds. So actually driving the car, looking where we are, look at the car in front of us and being present. This helps us be more calm eventually, because those unconscious thoughts that we have to do the entire time, what is next, what was yesterday, what was 5 years ago, makes you cringe, is what keeps us, takes time from us, takes it away. So being present in the moment is like just focusing on the stuff that you're doing right now.
Yeah.
The journaling, on the other hand, helped me with my anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety, have it my entire life. Didn't know it was anxiety and panic attacks. I just thought something's wrong with me. Journaling brought those thoughts onto paper. And I was able to track them over time, that it was always the same anxiety and fear, and then focusing on it instead of just suppressing those emotions. Like instead of our kids needing to suppress their own emotions, which will come out later, it's the same with us. A lot of anxiety comes from things that we never faced. Facing those emotions, letting them out, will help us be able to release this anxiety more and more.
Yeah. That makes complete sense. And I've seen many clients that journaling has helped them with their anxiety. And a lot of them try to suppress, or some of them didn't even know what it was. They thought it was normal. And then they come and do some journaling, breath works. They actually identify what it is. They put a name on it, and they have to learn how to let that emotion kind of go through their body, like in and out kind of thing. Well, it's wonderful that you work on it and you're better with your anxiety.
Thank you.
Because if not, you'll be here like this.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm already like a very active person. And then no.
Okay. Well, I would like to close this conversation, first of all, by saying thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
No, of course. Is there any last message you would like to tell parents in regards to their children, triggers, managing their own emotional responsiveness to them?
It's never too late to start. Even if you're a grandma, if your child is fully grown, it's never too late to start, because it starts with you and you're not failing. If you continuously try and do better and be better, not perfect, but just better than you were yesterday, in the sense that you're not happy with how you're responding, you're not failing. You can be the person you want to be, but it takes shitload of work.
Yeah.
And
You got to put in the work.
It's not easy, but it's really worth it. And you're not alone. There are so many people that are helping out here, and find the people that inspire you and get you to who you want to be.
Yes. And if you're uncertain what to do, just follow her.
Give me a call.
She has great tips.
Thank you.
I know I've learned a lot as a parent myself. So I loved all the information we shared today. But you already knew that.
No, thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching and listening, whichever you're doing. Please tune back next week. We'll have a fresh new episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Thank you.